Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our live Friday question and answer class, where you can ask your questions about American English pronunciation, American accent, intonation, anything that will help you to improve your overall communication in American English. Many of you have been tuning in for a long time now, and you know that you can type your questions into the chat at any time, and I'll be answering them as I proceed with the class. And for those of you who are new, welcome. It's so nice to see you here. Thank you, all of you members and subscribers, for all of the support for the channel. I really appreciate it. It helps me to bring more free training and a wider variety of training options to more people around the world. So today I want to talk briefly about one of my favorite topics, which is, I like to call it real talk. And what it is looking at how we pronounce things differently in different contexts. And specifically how sometimes what we have in written language doesn't really line up or doesn't really match with what we have in spoken language. And it doesn't mean that the spoken language is unprofessional or incorrect. And sometimes knowing and seeing how this works is really useful for your brain to know what you're hearing around you versus what you think the pronunciation of things should be based on how they're spelled and what you know about English pronunciation. So, hi Rose, welcome. I'm so happy that you're a member of the channel now. So let's take a look at these phrases. Hi Miguel. We're going to be looking at, if I were to say each word, it's our turn, it's your turn, and it's his turn. Now, clearly, when I'm talking, I don't say each word, I don't separate between the words, and I would be pronouncing these somewhat differently. So what happens here? We just were talking about the word our as our word of the day recently, and we talked about how this our, the possessive pronoun, and also the word hour, like it'll take me 1 hour, have the same pronunciation. But the difference is when I say it's our turn, I don't actually use this our pronunciation in that phrase. I say it more like it's our turn. It's our turn. And that's because this our in by itself or in the H-O-U-R version has a diphthong, ow, and then my our. But in fast speech, we reduce that diphthong and we get rid of part of it, and it just sounds like our. It's our turn. And so you might notice, oh yeah, that sounds a little different when I say our versus our. It's not incorrect to say it's our turn. It's okay. You just might notice that Americans tend to frequently reduce that word our and turn it into our. So to practice that, you can try saying things like, it's our car, it's our house, it's our time, it's our family, etc. You can also practice with our, just so you get comfortable with both. But it's useful to know because your brain is hearing Americans say this pattern. Then when it comes to the word your, I do have a video just about your and the different types of your. So we have your, you are, we have your, as in your turn, possessive pronoun. And in this case, this is the one that gets reduced. And we often, instead of or it's your, we reduce that just to her. And it sounds like it's your turn. So that's something we also do with the word for. It will often become for. It's for you, it's your turn, it's your friend, etc. And so you may find it's actually easier to say your than your. Many people struggle with that diphthong or. So it's a nice way to have that American sound and to perhaps make the speech a little bit easier. So it's our turn, it's your turn. And finally, with it's his turn, in that case, I just said it with the stress on his and I used the H. But if I'm saying just casually and relaxed, it's his turn, it's his turn, that H drops off, and then that actually also changes my S sound to a Z. So it sounds more like it's his turn, It's his turn. And that's because the S would normally say the sound S, it's, because it's after the T. But when I don't have a consonant and I have a vowel sound next, my S sound turns into a Z sound as it links here into the it's his turn. So these are the standard way that Americans will say these with some reduction. It's our turn, it's your turn, it's his turn. The times that I wouldn't reduce those our, your, and his is if I were stressing it. So in all of these phrases, it's our turn, it's your turn, it's his turn. I'm stressing turn. It's the most important way. But if I was trying to tell you, oh, it's your turn, and I changed the stress, it's your turn, then I would use the full form of your. Same thing with our or his. It's his turn. If I'm stressing that, then I don't reduce it. So part of the reason these are reduced is that they're unstressed. They go by quickly. They're not the most important part of the sentence. You can find more information and examples, details of these types of reductions, linking, and real talk on our Real Talk playlist. And perhaps after the lesson is over today, I'll put the link for that in the description for this video. But you can also go to Speech Modification Seattle, our YouTube page, and you can look here on our different playlists, and you'll see that we have a number of different playlists, including the Real Talk playlist. So that's the one you want to look for. As well as I have a course, an online course about Real Talk, so I'll show you that as well. If you take a look at speechmodification.com, I often show you this website and show you our free practice materials on there. We'll probably do that again today. But I also like to show that I do have some online courses with a subscription. They're very inexpensive, and the idea is that you can get more systematic with your work on pronunciation and accent. And normally I'll talk about my 6-week course, which is a great one for learning all the fundamentals and beginning to make changes in your speech. But if you're more advanced and also you really like that Real Talk concept, you can check out our Real Talk course, which has, looks like 18 lessons. And anyway, you can get a preview of the course, try some of the lessons, see what you think. So that might be something to check out after class today or another time. Thanks for waiting while I was talking. I wanted to share that Real Talk mini lesson, and now I want to answer your questions and talk with you about what you would like to talk about today. So hello there, Halim, nice to see you. And Miguel as well, the other Miguel, both of you. So Dana has a question, and she has phrases that start with coup. So coup de grâce, coup d'état, and coup de théâtre. I haven't heard that one before, but I'm sure that it has to do with theater. Okay, so for coup, that one we spell it like this, but the P sound is silent, and so it just sounds like coup with the clear oo. And in something like coup d'état or coup de grâce, the coup is unstressed. So the coup and the d are short and unstressed. And then for grâce, we use the a vowel, coup de grâce. That's where the stress is. For coup d'état, the d becomes just the D sound. We lose that schwa vowel, and then it's an A, coup d'état, again an a. And of course, this is the Americanization of these phrases. Depending on somebody's competency in French, you might hear them say it with more of a French accent, less of a French accent. I'm somewhere in between where I know some French. And so some Americans, maybe they would have a different pronunciation of these. I know that's sometimes what you're looking for. And my guess is that we would have something like coup de grace, maybe, but that would be incorrect. So I would definitely try to go with grâce, because, of course, grâce has the retroflex there, which makes it the ah sound. And then coup de théâtre, I would say for théâtre, that the French would be a T sound for the TH, the A, and then the ah, so that théâtre. And then I just kind of did a not very good French R there, théâtre. Maybe you would hear more of a r, théâtre from an American speaker with that R sound. Great. And speaking of coup, we also have this word coupe, which is, we use that for a car. And this kind of coop, like a chicken coop or being cooped up. And in those two, we do say the P sound. In this one, coup, we just say it like coup. Great, Dana, you always have interesting questions and ones that challenge me, and something, oftentimes phrases or words I haven't heard before. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Halim is asking about some of the requests he's made recently for word of the day. And so we'll cover them today. I may also, for some of your words, Halim, also do a word of the day request, because some things you've been asking for are really probably going to be useful for a lot of people. So for example, the word jewelry, there's some debate about this. So you'll see a lot of videos on jewelry, and people are arguing about whether it should be jewelry or jewelry, so 3 syllables, or just jewelry. I tend to use jewelry, in which case I have the j sound, first syllable stress, the oo, jewelry. I guess there's a little tiny schwa there before my dark L, and then finally my E, jewelry. It's not an easy word to pronounce, which is, I think, why there's different versions of it, and people probably struggle with that. Even Americans may have some difficulty with your word jewelry. So that's one that I've been thinking about making a video for, but sometimes these words that people struggle with are, it's not necessarily controversial, but people get very wedded to a certain pronunciation of it, and I'm not so much with that one. Okay, and then you also asked about carrier. That's another good request, because anytime we have more than one R sound, it's pretty challenging. And so carrier, we have the diphthong. I sometimes just write that as air, because we know that word. It's also in words like care. So actually, thinking about care might be helpful in this word carrier, because it does start with the same sound, the exact same sounds as the word care. We have first syllable stress, and so we have care, E, or maybe I'll write that this way, care E, and finally carrier. So this one I would just suggest going slowly, care, E, and then trying to speed up and sequence them naturally. Carrier. Very good. Okay, and your last one, Halim, was equivalent. And so for equivalent, we have second syllable stress. The QU says the K and W sounds, qua. Oftentimes when we have the letter E at the start of a word and it's not stressed, like in equivalent, it's short and unstressed, it's the I vowel, the lax I sound. So I would try equiv, there's my I vowel again, with a V, equiv, and then we have the schwa, lent. Again, another schwa here, lunt, or a reduced I vowel. Doesn't matter so much, almost no vowel there, equivalent. I go as quickly as I can from the L to the NT sound, the equivalent. You may also hear people say it as equivalent, with a stopped T there, where I just quickly stop the air. I may or may not release that T. So either equivalent or equivalent. Great word, thank you. Okay, so let's see, I'm a little behind. Thank you for waiting patiently for me to get to your words. Nice to see you, Sherry. So we have a request for the words courteous and courageous. So let's look at those two. So firstly, courteous. This is a tough one because it looks like the word court, right? But we don't say court. We say that as an vowel. So I will rewrite that just like this, cur. Same thing as in the word kernel. or curtain. We did recently talk about curtain and certain in our word of the day, or perhaps that's coming up soon. Anyway, it either just happened or it will happen soon. So courteous, first syllable stress, and then the eus is the e sound and the schwa, the us. And when we say courteous, Americans will use a flap T here. So it sounds more like a light D, courteous, versus courageous. This one, again, looks like courage, but the vowel sounds are different. Courageous, because we have second syllable stress. So again, we have our cur, and then we have the word age or rage, courage, and finally courageous. I'm going to rewrite that because I think the j, courage, the j comes here at the end, courageous. So that starts that last syllable. People have asked me about how to break up the words in syllables, and I know that matters when you're trying to teach someone else about spelling and syllables and sounds. In terms of pronunciation, I could write this courageous, or I could write this courageous. I just don't want to be too long on that R. And really, there's not really a natural break here. It's more like courage. I want to make sure that I can glide in and out of that R easily. So I have to be able to say the as well as the r. I just come in from sometimes you might see that in the dictionary like that. Well, that's not the rest of it, but they'll have a schwa and an R. And that's, I think, misleading because it's not really courageous. I do think that these go together and it's more of what I think of as an So this in particular, when there's an R in the middle, people are always asking, or not always, but sometimes asking me, is it is it ra? Really, you want to glide in and out of the and the ra together. Okay, so I know that probably wasn't your question, and I got into a little more detail there, but it's something that I've been talking about and answering people in comments, and I thought it might be useful for the rest of you as well to think about when it comes to the R, maybe I have more trouble doing the or maybe I have more trouble with words that start with R. And for everybody doing R, it's almost always like the R is in the middle, and I have to go in and out of it. So practicing that, gliding back and forth can be very, very helpful in establishing your American R. It's something I talk about in my American R playlist. So if that's something you need a little bit more help with, check that out. It's also something I talk about in my online courses. And of course, I do also work with people in small groups and one-on-one, helping them with difficult sounds like R and integrating what we're talking about in terms of pronunciation into their overall speech. So you can find out more about those options on speechmodification.com. Okay, so let's see. Perennial Rose, I don't know your actual name, and I can call you Perennial Rose if you like, or you can tell me your name so I can refer to you by name. At any rate, I'm going to answer your questions. So she asked us, I'm assuming you're a she, maybe you're also a he, let me know. Perennial Rose asked us about individual, between, and science. Really good words. I do have some videos, a video about between and some others, but I want to talk about them here today for you. So individual has third syllable stress and lots of lax I sounds. So being able to do that, watch out that it doesn't get into a tense E, but rather your tongue is a little bit lower and more lax. Sounds like I. So I have indi, and then vi. It's the same lax I sound. It's just held longer. So these are fast, individu, and then again, I'm not going to put the D there because this DU says the J sound. So jewel, individual, that's probably where you might run into some trouble. So sometimes these words with DU, like education, individual, etc., they have the J sound, and we need to push that sound out. Individual. Then you also wanted to know about between. There again is our I vowel in the unstressed first syllable. So between, this is how you'll see it in the dictionary, short, long. What's challenging here is that people will want to say it like between to have the vowels match. It's not the worst thing in the world if I say between you and me. People will know what I'm saying. Americans will, however, use more of an I vowel there, between. For this kind of second syllable stress word, where that first syllable needs to be short and have a lax vowel, it can be pretty helpful to start with the stressed syllable. Just say it by itself, tween, tween. And then I often will say a tween or the tween, really light and short, and then finally switching to the b, between. So thinking about the b being very short, small, light, and then the tween having your stress, between. And then lastly, you also wanted to know about the word science. And here we have kind of an unusual spelling where we have the SC sound just says the S sound. This ience is diphthong I, so first syllable stress, science, and we have a schwa at the end. So what it's going to sound like is same as the word sigh, and then ns. I almost do no vowel there at all. I just go kind of right from the sigh to a little tiny sound, science, science. Go as much as you can into the ns, the ns sound by itself. Science, something very important to be talking about these days. And something we all are relying on quite a bit to help us. Okay. Muhammad is asking about the word murderer. It's totally a tough word because we have the erderer, 3 ers in that word. I will say my word, some other videos that might help you are my video about error. I have some other words in my R playlist that have that So for murderer, I have the UR spelling, but it sounds like an so I will rewrite it as so this one I would just break down, do each syllable by itself, and I have length here, and these two are short, murderer. You can sometimes get help for something like this by building it from the back. So murderer. And you may just have to go slowly to be able to sequence all those sounds. If you're really having trouble and it's not coming in and you can do other R sounds, focus in on breaking it apart and putting it back together. But you may also find that if you work on other words that have that American R, the just working on the fundamental of that background, that fundamental work is really going to help you when it comes to other words like error, rural, some of these other words that are challenging for everyone, including me, to say because they have the multiple sounds. Order, that's another one that's similar to your word where doing the D in the middle, order, sometimes makes it more challenging for people. Great. Okay. Hi, Olvia. Nice to see you. She wants to know about words with the D and the TH sound together, like width and yes, that's a very good example. So what I would say is for most people going from D to th, width, is not, they aren't going to be pronouncing that differently from just the word with. What you can hear is when I say width, is that I'm stopping the air before I say my TH sound. And what is challenging is that if you have a tendency to stop your TH sound and say it more like width, then that is an error when you're saying the word with, where you want that sound to be able to continue. But when I'm saying width, I want the air to stop and then continue. So I don't really have to think so much about saying the D. It's not really width. I can't really say that voice D because the air gets stopped. One trick I'll tell you is that instead of trying to move my tongue behind the teeth for the D, like wid, and then move it out for the TH, I'm going to just put my tongue in the TH position, but use it to block the air against my teeth and then release it. So it sounds like width. You can see how my tongue is sticking out. It's already ready for the TH, and it just seals off a little bit, width, and then it releases into the TH sound. Definitely a challenging pattern, and it's something I should make some videos about because we sometimes have to use these, and sequencing those two sounds, like you mentioned, is quite difficult. Hopefully that little cheat helps you. That's something we can look at in our group class as well. Okay, let's see. We have a request for the word academic. Academic. This word has third syllable stress. The first syllable has secondary stress, and it has the clear vowel a, like in black and cat, aka. And then I have a schwa, unstressed. This vowel is the red tent vowel, sounds like eh. And then lastly, academic, I have an unstressed lax I vowel. So it sounds like a, ka, dem, ik, with my length here. Academic. Good one. Yeah, I have a lot of people in academia for whom academic is a word that they probably have to say fairly frequently. So thank you for that request. Dana would also like to know about sentient and transient. Good words. So we'll look at sentient first. So sentient has sentient, first syllable stress. This TI is like the TI in TION, like action, which we talked about in today's word of the day. It's an SH sound. So I have red tent vowel, sen, in my clear syllable, and then shint. I would say that's probably a lax I vowel, sentient. You could potentially also use a schwa there, the sound. I'm going to almost have no vowel, though. Even though I spell that with two letters, sentient, shint, I'm going to try to go from my SH to my NT as quickly as I can. Again, I might hear sentient with a T or sentient with a stop T. Words with NT, we sometimes don't really release that T, but we do stop the air. Make sure it doesn't sound like sentient. You don't want that N to linger. Sorry, I'm talking very quickly. I'll slow down. So then we have transient. In this case, transient, we have our S functions as a Z sound. We have the black cat vowel again, first syllable stress, transient. Again, almost no vowel here for this one. I just go right into, if anything, a little tiny schwa there and my stopped NT. So this one functions kind of like a syllabic N, transient. Great words and useful vocabulary as well. Okay, so we have another question from Tashi about the word attitude. This is a great example word for the different things that American T can do in the middle of words. So we have first syllable stress, attitude, and this first T, this first two T's are flap T's. So they sound like a light D sound. I don't really want to make a strong D like attitude. I just lightly touch up for that D. Then I have, so this is black cat vowel. This is flap T, attitude. And then this one, I actually say the T. I release that, tude. It's not stressed. Maybe it has secondary stress on that syllable. So in that case, for whatever reason, we do actually say the T sound. Similarly, like potato, except potato goes the other way with a released T and then a flap T. Attitude, one sounds like a D. So just like the word add, and then tude. This letter U says the oo vowel. You might write it like that as well. Attitude, long, short, short. We're all working hard to have a good attitude these days, despite the lengthy trials of the pandemic. And here in the Seattle area, we are dealing with smoke from the California and Oregon and Washington wildfires. So it's hard to keep a cheery attitude, but coming to class and seeing all of you and your great questions really helps me and my attitude. So thank you. Okay, let's see. And Tashi has a couple other words, which are lose and loose. Main difference here, this one has the Z sound, this one has the S sound. So they both have vowel oo. One is S and one is Z. So clear tense oo sound, lose. One way to practice to get that differential and to get that Z sound is try saying something like lose it or losa, and you're going to think about it being more like the Z goes on to the next word, lose it, versus we don't say loose it, let it loose, loosen it. But even in loosen, I have my S sound. It's loose. I have a clear S there. So yes, lose, and loose. That's a good request and suggestion as well. Spelling doesn't always help us. With the SE sound, I would say more often than not, those say the Z sound, but there are some words also where they say the S sound. You can see I have a video about where letter S says S and where it says Z. You can find that on speechmodification.com and also on our channel page. If you use the search tools, that can be pretty helpful. So I'll show you how to do that on speechmodification.com. Of course, you can also leave comments and questions here on this video, on the channel, anywhere, and I'll give you those resources, tell you where to find them. But when you're on the website, if you go to our free practice, I have a search box there that can be really helpful. And so it's taking just a moment to load. You can type in your word, your sound, your letter in the search box, and you'll see, so I could say maybe I'll just type in S, and you'll see all the lessons that come up. It'll show you. So words with S, S for Z, saying words that ends with S, and here's the one I was talking about. When does letter S say Z? And so you'll see there's a video there and a lesson. Oh, that's my old video. I have a newer video as well. That's a topic that comes up a lot because, of course, we add the letter S to make things plural for present tense, third person verb forms, possessives. So it's something that we pay attention to in this class as well as in my online classes. Great. So Astrid has a question. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little behind. We'll go a little past our usual half hour today. I have the time. If you have to go, you can come back and watch the replay later, but I want to try to make sure I get to all of your questions. At some point, I may have to stop because I have, of course, other things happening today, but it's great to see so many of you here. So let's get to as many of your questions as we can. So we have a question about the word gravure. I'm not familiar with that word, so I'm going to show you what I do when I see a word that I don't know, which is I like to use the online dictionary. The one I like is the Oxford Learner's Dictionary because it has both British and American English pronunciation, so that helps me know the different types of English. And your word was Gravure. So let's see if that's in this dictionary. Okay, so maybe you had a typo. I'm not seeing it in the dictionary. Based on what I see for the spelling, I would probably say it's gravure, but let me know if perhaps you mistyped that word and we'll make sure to cover it. We have a question for the word without. And this is one I'll say that I think I have a slightly different pronunciation than most Americans on this one, so I'll tell you about both. I say without, and I use the voiceless TH. So I say with and without, but most Americans will say without with a voiced TH there. And then I have the ow, without. We often will not say that T at the end. We'll use a stop T. Don't leave it out. Don't say it without the T. You can either say a light T, without, or without, or without, with. So because that TH is in the middle, for most people, it's easiest to keep the voice on and do without. And I think that's the main pronunciation. For whatever reason, maybe because I'm from the Midwest, I tend to say with no voicing, and without, with minimal voicing on that TH. Yeah. So great question. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Astri would like to know about granite, gratitude, and courage. So courage, we talked about courageous. And so for courage, all we have to do is change. We have just the udge, the schwa here. So courage. I'll write that like this, but it's basically our j sound. So you want to watch out to make sure that it's not turning into a courage. It's not continuing, but rather courage. It's a pushed out sound like the J, first syllable stress. For granite, this one doesn't really follow the rules of spelling. Usually if we have an E, silent E, we would make that into the I sound. It would be like granite. But in this word, granite, it just sounds like gran, black cat vowel, and the word it, granite. Again, because it ends with T, we often use the stop T there. And then lastly, gratitude, just exact same as what we talked about with attitude. So hopefully you saw me describe that. Same thing where I have the D here, and I do say this T, so gratitude. Yes, I have a lot of gratitude for all of you. We do also in our word of the day playlist, you can use that now and search to see if your word was covered in our, I think we have over 200 word of the day videos now. We've been doing this for quite some time. And that would be if you go to the word of the day playlist on the channel page, type in your word, or again, leave me a comment on any of my videos and I'll send you the link for where you can find that particular YouTube video. And I think gratitude was one of the very first word of the day videos that someone had requested, and I chose to do it very early in the series because I wanted to have an opportunity to express my gratitude for all of you who've made such great suggestions. What you bring to these classes, to the word of the day, to the members only classes, really helps shape the channel because it's becoming something where I'm really listening to your feedback and giving you what I hope will help you. Your questions apply not only to you, but to many other viewers and listeners as well. And you have just wonderful ideas and suggestions. When I know what's challenging for you, I can look at it through the lens of, okay, these are the patterns that you have in your accent because of native language, because of some of these things like spelling doesn't match and doesn't line up with pronunciation, oftentimes in English, as well as those little differences that Americans will make where we do these reductions, we do these changes in running speech. And so I very much appreciate, and I have a lot of gratitude for everything that you contribute to the class, that you're coming back again and again, and you're giving me wonderful suggestions. I think the quality of what I can offer you is really enhanced by your participation. So I appreciate that. Okay, we had a request for letter TH in different words. So we did just talk about with and without and without. I do have a full playlist for American TH with a lot of different words and suggestions. And in my videos for various sounds, so you can look up any of the sounds of English on my Sounds of English playlist and look at lots and lots of words that have that sound. So for TH, of course, it's pretty prevalent. It's a challenging sound, so I have a full playlist. But if you're looking at a particular sound and you look at the video, what you're going to find there is the most frequently used words in English that have that sound. All of my materials and lessons are based on this concept that even though we have lots and lots of vocabulary, people are asking me about really useful words like transient, sentient, all kinds of wide variety of words. We don't use those bigger words as much. We use the little words like use and we and was and is and he and she and are. And they make up about 80% of our speech. And so I've done the research. I know which words we use most frequently. And I've taken the top 1,500 to 5,000 words and sorted them all by these have these patterns, these have these sounds. So you can know when you come to the website, when you come to the materials, yeah, I want to work on TH. Then you want to work on the and them and there and they and with and both and south, because those are the words we use a lot. We don't use the word theoretical as much, although you will find I do have a video about theory and theoretical. So you want to practice on those common and frequent words and the combinations of those words to be able to really incorporate the new sound patterns into your speech. Okay, so that was kind of a long tangent, but I wanted to let you know that those resources are available for you as you're trying to make these improvements. When you ask questions about particular words, notice which words you struggle with. You may find, oh yeah, these are some of the patterns I have. I really do have a hard time with those R words, especially something like carrier, where there's two of them, or the TH words. What do I do for that TH in the middle of without? If you don't know or you have questions about what patterns you might have, besides paying attention to which words are problematic for you, you can also go on speechmodification.com to our store page, and you'll find free downloads for accent patterns. And what this is the data I was talking about, which patterns you might have based on your native language. I've given you a free download for that. So you can look up your native language, French, Arabic, Farsi, whatever it might be, get this download, and it's going to say, okay, you're likely to make this substitution, have this error. It'll give you some sample words. And that's a really good way to sort of start examining, okay, what's different in my speech? What is my accent really when I'm speaking English? And which things do I want to start concentrating on when I'm trying to change and improve my pronunciation? So check those out. Okay, so a couple more questions. We have a request for the word decorative. So this looks like it should be decorative. And you can say decorative, but I think Americans are going to say it more frequently like decorative, where we kind of decra. This is the one we drop off. We don't drop off that A. So decorative, we reduce that down to 3 syllables. So it sounds like de, red tent vowel, decra, schwa, vowel, and this one that is a flap T sounds like a D, decorative, first syllable stress, decorative. And Miguel would like to know about maintenance. Ooh, that's a tough one, Miguel. Maintenance. Okay, so what we do in maintenance is similar to the word important. So I'm going to say, check out my video for important, and I can send that to you as well. But in maintenance, we don't really say this T. So I use that stop T that I do with the NT sound. So maint, I want to do my A vowel, and then the T, you can't hear the T, maint. I just stop the air with my tongue for the N, and I make that really short, maint. And then I don't really do this vowel either. So I kind of have to go maint. I go right from the NT to a syllabic N. I do think also my video for syllabic N, words like button, will help you. So if I start with something easier like button or cotton, I go right from the stop T to the N. That's what I'm doing here as well. Mainten. And then I just have to add another syllable, another maintenance. I would try to do a little schwa in that last one, otherwise it gets too tough. So maintenance. Super tough word. Thank you for that suggestion. I think that one deserves a full-fledged video as well because of that NT stop T combination. Hopefully I said it enough times there that you can use that for practice. I'm also happy to make you a recording for that particular word that you can use for practice, and I can send that to you after group class. Okay, great request. Question. Okay. So the question was about the word attitude, and Elaf is rewriting it like this and saying that people make the D sound. And yes, we do make the D sound in attitude and gratitude. And in some languages, I call it flap T, but really the sound is just a flap. And in some languages, the R is a flap. So you'll hear people will say like very sounds like very, very. Or Spanish, pero. There might be an accent there. Pero? I don't know. I'm not a Spanish speaker, but this letter R says the sound flap, pero, same as attitude. So a flap just is the position of the tongue lifting up behind the teeth, touching up lightly and releasing. So if it helps you to think of it as an R, because that's how you do R in your native language, great. I don't usually teach it as an R because I'm trying to teach R for the American R, which is made in the back, and it's not a flap, but you're correct. That flap sound is used as an R in some languages and as a TD sound in the English language. Great. Okay. Thank you so much. And I will see you, Miguel. And we're going to do one last word, and then we're going to wrap up because it's going quite long today. Thank you for sticking with me. We have the word hereditary. So we have kind of a theme today of words that have flap T versus pronounced T. So in this case, we have second syllable stress. It sounds like her, and the word red, vowel I, terry. Hereditary. So actually we spell that one with a D. We have airy at the end. It's the air diphthong, hereditary. So again, you may find it challenging to do both the light flap, the D, and the T, hereditary. And you might also find it hard to do terry with that E sound and that air sound. So you just might want to break this one down, hereditary, and then speed it back up, hereditary, until you can do it more easily and naturally. Ramil, your word linguistics. Okay, I said one more, but we'll do two more. Linguistics has an NG sound. So that's written like that, ling, make sure the back of your tongue lifts. And then this GU is kind of unusual in English. We have actually also a G sound and a W sound, gwe. So back to our I, and then lots of vowels in this word. Linguistics, second syllable stress. So linguistics. Yes, linguistics, that's my passion, if you can't tell. And thank you so much, everyone, for a wonderful class today. You had really great requests and suggestions. I'll be back again tomorrow with our Word of the Day class. And on Sunday, I'm going to be hosting two classes. One is our new Phrase of the Week class. We're going to be talking about the phrase tongue-in-cheek. So we'll talk about what it means and how to use it. You can check out that full playlist as well. It's called American English Idioms and Expressions. So we're kind of moving into talking about the types of language Americans use. I'll also be holding a live members class on Sunday. So if you're not a member yet, you still have time to join. It's the same kind of class as this, question and answer, but it's a smaller group because it's for the members. And another thing that I offer for the members is that they can ask me questions at any time on our community page or on any of our videos. And even if they can't make it to the live class on Sunday, I'll cover their words so they can come back and check the replay. So that's just a way to get your requests a little faster, since the word of the day takes me a while to get around to your word, since we have so many wonderful requests. If you're not a member or you don't want to join, no worries. I still will be continuing to have these daily Word of the Day classes, weekly Phrase of the Week class, and this live class every Friday. So if you want to get a little bit more, go a little bit further, join as a member, and you can come to the member classes and join our 5x5 live series that we've started now, where we go a little bit more in depth. Thanks so much for a great class, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Friday. I'll see you again tomorrow with our Word of the Day. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, guys. Thank you.